Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Nomad CEO Podcast. I'm Kenz, your host. And today I have the incredible privilege to sit down with one of my absolute favorite people, Sara Jafar Hernandez. And you are in for a treat with this conversation, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed and just need a good reset in your life. Sara is going to walk through how to do that with us today. So listen in. This is one to save. This is one to share. Probably one to listen back to on repeat because she's going to dive into some really important and biological tips for you to regulate anything in your life, where you enter into those spaces. And so, Sara, I love the work that you do with somatic breathwork. You're a practitioner, you're an integrative coach, and what you have to know, listeners, is that she helps high achieving women reconnect with their bodies, regulate their nervous systems, and truly live more soul-aligned lives. Sara, through her transformational breathwork journeys, retreats, and total embodied experiences, she creates powerful spaces for healing, clarity, emotional reset, and truly lasting change from the inside out. She is deeply passionate. I'm talking one of the most passionate people I've ever met in my life about serving women and empowering them to prioritize their well-being at the highest level. So Sara, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to not only know you, but to also be on your podcast.
Oh, yay. I know. It's going to be so fun. I'm pumped. And just so you all know how I met Sara, you probably have relationships like this in your life, but I would say it's probably a small amount, at least in my experience, where you meet someone in this way. So little context, I was at a beautiful networking event in Boise, Idaho called the Breakfast Club, the Boise Breakfast Club. And it was after the speaker had spoke and we had eaten, and it was early in the morning, I think on a Tuesday. And there's, 50 women there, maybe more. And across the room, I just see this beautiful woman, and it's like she had this light on her. And I remember your hair was up in a top knot bun and you had this beautiful outfit on. And there's just an energy around you that I was like, you seem so familiar to me. And I couldn't place it. I was like, have I met this woman before? Like, oh my gosh. And I had to go up, and I went up and talked to you. And still, while we're talking, I was like, I feel like I know you. And from that point, we created a connection. And fast forward, we went to Fiji together. We're in a mastermind together. So much has happened in less than a year. And I'm so glad that we met. I'm so glad that you're here. So anyways.
My gosh, yes. Thank goodness. And what a gift. What a gift you've been in my life.
Same. Truly same. So Sara, I really am so excited to dive into these questions with you. And, really as a somatic breathwork practitioner, could you share what that is for people that don't know and how you incorporate that with your integrative coaching? And we'll go from there.
Okay, well, there's a lot of ways to describe what exactly somatic breathwork is, but soma means of the body. And we're basically using the breath as a tool to tap into the intelligence of our body. Because whether we realize it or not, we store stress, trauma, all sorts of stuff, unfelt emotions. Maybe we're carrying the weight of other people's expectations, opinions, judgments, etc. So as a human on this planet, it's important to feel what's there to feel so we can release it, so we don't carry the weight of that in our body anymore. And the reason that's important is because when we don't feel these things, that is what creates depression, anxiety, eventually dis-ease. So, it can run the gamut when we don't let our body run through feeling what there is to feel and letting that expression move through us. Because it's not normal to walk around feeling our feelings. A lot of times we shove it down, maybe save it for later. And so things stack up over time.
Yeah, that's so good. Well said. I love that.
Thanks.
And I'm curious for you, Sara, your background in health and as a personal trainer for many years, what led you down the path yourself? Like, was there a moment that you realized for you that something had to change and or your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I became a trainer in 2013. I became a life coach in 2019. And I felt like there's a missing piece here. There's something deeper because I felt like my clients and I could only get to a certain depth. And when I first moved to Idaho from Southern California, I worked at Stretch Lab for 6 months. And I noticed the clients that would breathe with me would get so much out of their stretch. Mm-hmm. So fast forward a couple years later, I I think that I was led to somatic breath work, and I felt like, oh my gosh, this has been the missing piece all along. So I use the breath work again to tap into the things we might not even be aware of that we're storing in our bodies, and then use the integrative coaching to integrate that even deeper. It's one thing to have a powerful experience, but it's quite another to continue to do the work, to get curious about things, heal things, talk about things, because we do need each other in this life. So to have someone as an empathetic witness, that is how healing happens, the presence of another. And I'm just so honored to have found this work, because I've never felt more in alignment with the work that I get to do with others.
Wow. An empathetic witness. That is so good. So true. Well said. Oh my goodness. And could you share a little bit more too of what it looks like for you in the integrative coaching side, like from a practical, like what it looks like, say, in a session with a client when you are walking them through the integrative coaching? Could you dive deeper into that?
Sure. Well, typically, like after a breathwork session, there's things that can come up in the moment, and there are things that can continue to come up over time. So it's a safe space to unpack all of that and maybe make some more sense of it, or even sharing stuff out loud is really, really powerful. Having someone listen, but also hearing our own voice say certain things that can really, really hit deeper. So yeah, it's getting curious. It's like an excavation process. There's deeper layers to us. And when we get curious and we're compassionate and have grace with ourselves, and we have someone that we trust to hold that space with us as we navigate this excavation process, it can be, of course, we don't feel as alone, but it can be more powerful to know that A, you're not alone, and that there's somebody there with you walking, by your side as you maybe tap into some things you haven't ever tapped into before.
Ooh, that's good. I haven't heard it put like an excavation process. It makes total sense though, because, you excavate your house and your body's housing your spirit or whatever you believe. Like wow, that's good. I'm curious too, working with high achieving women specifically, like what patterns have you noticed like in a group or in your clients over time that helped pull you into this mission deeper? Like obviously you the Stretch Lab experience and that came where, but from what I've learned about you is it's been a layered process too. You keep seeing it, and so what do you see? What do you observe now, knowing what you know in high achieving women?
Well, women in and of itself is quite an amazing thing, but high achieving women, as you know, as one yourself, you can take on a lot. Your capacity is quite extreme, and I think given a safe space to slow down and listen and really check in with yourself, I don't think it's a matter of how much a woman can take on. I think it's a matter of getting her to stop just for a second, to pour back into herself, and to really just pay attention to the cues of her body, and honoring those cues, because it can become really easy in a high capacity, high achieving world as a woman to just keep going and not listen to those cues, not rest when you need to, not maybe give yourself the proper nutrition or hydration, because it's easy to get lost in service to others or our mission, or taking care of our kids, our families, our friends, our clients. The list is pretty endless. So my ultimate goal is to grab those high achieving women and just get them to stop and breathe and listen and tune in and really honor what is found there.
That's good. So I'm curious, what are some cues that someone can recognize within themselves to know, oh, I am aligned right now versus dysregulated? Like, what are some of the real signals?
Well, as far as being dysregulated, maybe you're a little bit more snappy with people. You notice like you're kind of teetering on that edge. Like you might want to tell someone to go F themselves. I don't know. Like everyone handles it differently. I have an example. One of my clients, who's been a client since 2016, she had a very busy day. She has 2 daughters, husband. She was in and out of meetings all day, and she was in her final Zoom meetings for the day. She came out, and her husband and daughters were just sitting there in a mess. And she basically had some very colorful words for them. But come to find out, she hadn't rested. She hasn't fed her body. Like she didn't give herself her basic needs. So it was no wonder that she was at her wit's end and saying things that, weren't necessarily coming from where they would had she been rested and fed and all of those things. So I think you can notice as you move through the world, that you're a little bit more sharp with people. And the opposite is true. When you are regulated, you do have a little bit more patience, and not only with others, but with yourself. You feel solid in terms of your thinking and your decision making, and things seem a lot more clear. And yeah, it's pretty much the opposite of when things feel, just out of sorts, and there's, a lack of ease. There's something that your body is telling you that it needs.
That's so good. Do you, especially with the high achieving woman aspect, and so many high achievers, are like, what's the system? What's the hack? What's the strategy, excuse me, that I can implement? So my question for you is, what are some examples of how someone can have a system to stay aligned, get aligned and stay aligned, so that they don't end up in the dysregulated space? Like, what are some habits that you recommend?
Well, I definitely recommend pouring into yourself, whatever that looks like, whether you need to spend some time breathing, stretching, meditating, working out, taking a walk, resting. That's a crazy concept that is hard for a lot of people to let themselves do, is rest, especially women. That there's a lot of stuff tied to that with what that means. So a couple of tools would, if you feel yourself like, getting close to that edge, or feeling, like your patience is running thin, or, just unease in your body, just taking a few slow, deep breaths, you would be surprised at what that does for your body. So when I say a few slow, deep breaths, we're talking inhale through the nose and long exhales through the mouth, like this. And then exhale as long as you can. And then just start to tune in. Maybe you tell yourself, I'm safe. Maybe you tell yourself whatever it is you need in those moments. Another thing you can do is tune into your 5 senses. What do I see? What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I hear? Just, again, people might think, I don't have the time. Time is one of our most precious assets. And even 1 to 5 minutes can make a huge difference in your day. A huge difference. So it doesn't need to take a lot of time, but gifting yourself 1 minute of breathing can really shift the trajectory of your mindset and your nervous system for the whole rest of the day.
I love how you describe things. Gifting yourself even 1 minute of breathing.
Yeah.
Wow. Because truly everything we do, we're, if we're maybe holding our breath because of stress or anger or whatever it might be, can't hold it that long. You got to start breathing soon to stay alive. So the fact that you, to gift yourself even in those moments, that 1 minute, I mean, anyone can do that. Literally anyone can do that. So I love that perspective, right? And to love yourself enough to gift yourself that, simple thing.
Anyone can do it. It's just a matter of remembering the tool. Like maybe something crazy is happening, but just remember, breathing can help you stay solid and that will help with your decision making. Say you're in an emergency situation, remembering to breathe will really aid you through whatever's going on.
Yeah, that's good. Can you explain the physiology behind why breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, longer exhale versus inhale, what that means for people?
Yes, because the opposite, when we're taking deep breaths in and out of our mouth, or we're not breathing at all, shallow breathing, that gets us into our fight or flight. So taking gentle inhales through the nose and long exhales through the mouth is the opposite. It gets us into the rest and digest, really creates safety within the body. And that's everything. When your body knows that it's safe, that's when the magic happens. Like, take stretching, for instance. If your body doesn't know it's safe, those muscles are going to hang on and no, I'm not safe. But the minute you start breathing, you can feel like, okay, my body knows we're in this together and it's okay to let go.
That's good. That's really good. What I think of, there's a graph, the slide edge, it's a book. So I'm kind of visualizing that right now. But from your perspective, Sara, and your expertise, what would you say is the cost long-term if someone doesn't tune into their breath and they think, man, maybe I don't want to gift myself 1 minute, or maybe I don't deserve that, or maybe they forget about it, right? And the compound of the stress continues versus the someone that goes the opposite way and says, I'm going to implement this now. Like, literally while I'm listening to this podcast, I'm going to focus on my breathing more if I haven't already. Yeah. What are the two ends of the spectrum that you've seen, or you would, maybe warn someone about if they don't make the changes versus if they do?
Well, I think those warning signs are anxiety, depression, and things of that nature. And if we don't really tune into those warning signs, which is that's what they are, then it just continues to move in that direction. Maybe we have weird aches and pains. Maybe we have weird ailments. Maybe we can't sleep. I mean, the list is pretty endless. And eventually I would imagine that it does take, in the grand scheme of things, it does shorten our lifespan. I mean, nobody wants to think about that. But I've met clients who, I used to work with clients that have Parkinson's disease, and I've met people that are like, this is just not fair. I never smoke, I never drank, I exercised, but I do know they had a very stressful work career. So I think in my mind, like we always know, like, oh, stress is a killer, but it's literally like when we don't find ways to regulate ourselves and take care of ourselves, it does take a toll, and it's invisible stuff. But we definitely, it's felt if we're able to tune in and listen, there are things there that are telling us, hey, please pay attention to me.
Yeah. Listening to those warning signs, that's really good. Yeah. So what do you find? You mentioned the example of your client and saying some colorful things to her family, right? And the opposite of maybe, oh, I'm just patient and it's okay if it's a mess, like that perspective. What are some other things that can show up for people, say, in the workplace? Because I feel like that's, or if they own a business, that they could cue into of, oh man, I'm allowing this external thing. Because that's something I'll say for myself. I'll put myself out there. I'm happy to always do it. But like I've noticed since working for myself, it is exposed personal development is one of my favorite things. And I'm like, wow, this is the best tool for that. But something I haven't quite figured out yet in that process is, because I'm learning so much, right? How to do marketing and how to like do operations and think of just all this stuff. And some of it
52 hats.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so I think I was about 6 months in before I even realized, whoa, it compounded and caught up to me. And I've been a health forever, but no one's immune, right? I mean, we're all learning in different seasons. So I'm curious, like, when I look back on my journey, I can see these things of, well, I didn't stop working out, but I would work out a couple times a day, a few days a week. And I was just doing 1 time a day, which I'm not saying people should do more or not. That's just where my fitness level was. And it was a mental mental thing as much as it was physical. So anyways, I'm so curious to learn from my own experience so I don't repeat that. Yeah. And I'm curious what you've observed, other little cues for, say, business owners or high achieving women that they can clue into so they don't let it compound to that worst case scenario.
Well, I think this is where pausing can help us tune into these things. If we just keep going straight for 6 months, that's where things just keep compounding and we don't even realize it. But if we have a checkpoint with ourselves, whether it's once a week, once a day, whatever that looks like for you, you're able to catch it before it gets to that point. I think another important thing as women business owners is setting boundaries. And that can be hard. We don't, we all have different reasons why things are hard, but maybe it's, you don't want to disappoint others or you don't want to hurt people's feelings or whatever the thing is. But when we don't set boundaries, again, we're not honoring ourselves. And we have to listen to our inner wisdom that's like, ooh, that doesn't feel so good. What can we do about that instead of ignore it? Or, ooh, this feels really good. How can we continue to move in that direction of what our body is telling us? Again, like really listen to that. So yeah, I think having a touch point, I like to call it power hour, whether it's an hour or not. It's just a way to give back to yourself. And whatever you put in that hour, even if it's 15 minutes, can be exponential. So it doesn't get to that point where you wake up 6 months later and you're like, holy moly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that's a really good point because I personally was charting new territory in the sense that I didn't have a business coach. I didn't have, my own health coach or anything, which I do believe in having that.
Yeah.
Or having someone to be accountable to. There's always more layers to learn. But looking back, that was something that was like, I just went in guns a-blazing,
That's how you do stuff, though. You go all in. Mm-hmm. And I admire that about you. But I also love that you're like, hey, how can I do this a little bit more gentler and kinder and still? Because it's awesome when you're building a business and you're so passionate about it. It's really easy to work every single hour of every day. But again, setting some boundaries with yourself and having maybe some work hours or, maybe certain relationships aren't serving us. There's so much to look at in our life. and what feels good and what doesn't, where there needs to be maybe a hard conversation or things of that nature. So I think that it all comes back to what our body is telling us and really just taking the time to listen to it. And if we have a touch point once a day, once a week, whatever that looks like, then our body will tell us if we're there to listen. And when you mentioned working out, so breath work is a way that we move the energy through our body so we don't store it in our body anymore. That's another reason why movement and exercise is so powerful, because it allows us to move energy through us. The energy that's not serving us, we can move it through us with movement. So it's very similar to breath work in that way.
Wow, that is so well said. That is so, just how you're wording things is just hitting in a different way.
Cool.
Yeah, I need to hear. So I hope it helps. Yeah. Man, that's so good. And I think that's something too, I've learned so much from you and your husband, Tack, who's been in the health, field as well, is lifelong learner of sometimes we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And so anyways, I'm curious to a couple things that came up is, I know this was me, and I had to remind myself in this last season of something that I have lived by. I lived by for years. I would teach for years, and I was like, oh, I'm being reminded of my own lesson.
Yep, same.
It was a different season, right? It was a different season. I've had to give myself grace. I've never had this last season that I've had before. So it's a new learning, layered learning. Anyways, I know a question that I had asked myself, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, is for the ambitious woman, the successful woman that has so much going on, wears many hats in life, let alone maybe even her business, and even men, right? This can apply to them. But I'm curious, the thought of, you mentioned time, but even it's oh man, it's one more thing I have to do. Right? Or, oh man, I got to remember this, or how do I fit this in? What would you say is a good mindset shift if someone's thinking that thought? What could they think instead?
Well, as an ambitious woman that wants to do all the things, gifting yourself some time with yourself will give you even more capacity to carry all the things that you're wanting to do, all the things that you're wanting to do. As a mom who, wants to give all the love to the kids, but you have to give love to yourself before you have love to give others. So whether, you can just translate that into life, whatever you're seeking, if you can give that to yourself first, you'll have even more to give. So while I'm holding space for others, I think, well, how do I continue to create more space so I can hold space? Or another example would be when I was setting out to meet Tack, who is my soulmate. I thought about all these qualities that I wanted in my partner, but then I realized I must first embody those qualities before I can attract that in another. So I think whatever we're wanting to do in the world, remember to give that to yourself first. And then you'll have so much more to pour into your business and your relationships and all that you're wanting from this life.
That's so good. I'm actually really glad too that you mentioned your journey to meeting Tack and your relationship, because I would love to touch on this. The breath work is so foundational and can be, it's the root that can supply many fruit, if you will. But something that I would love for people to know that I've seen in your life, that if they don't know you, that you have one of the most fruitful marriages. The love that you and Tack share for each other is palpable. And it's especially it's one thing for a woman to love a man, because women are just lovers by nature. And with all due love and respect for men, for a man to show his unconditional adoration and love for his wife isn't as common. And that is something that Tack does with abandon. He does not care. He obviously he doesn't care what people think when he just professes his love for you from a mountaintop. He's beats his chest. Sarah is my woman. It's so beautiful. And so I'm really curious in this journey, right? Because breathwork's a piece of it, and the continued development. What did that journey to meeting him look like? And then in your relationship now, how do you continue to embody that, you loving you, to then love someone else so fiercely as you do? So to start, and then where you're at now.
Well, what happened was I woke up in my marriage that I was in 2019. I started to realize there was misalignment there, and it was really difficult. But on the other side, when I had some time to myself, I realized I didn't really know myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't trust myself. And that's how I ended up in a misaligned relationship. So I really took a whole year to, as I say, fall madly in love with myself. I think it's really important to cultivate the relationship that we have with ourselves, because that's where everything comes from. Our decision making, the people we align ourselves with, our partner, and so on. So I think taking that year was so beneficial, because I started to get really in tune with what I need and want, and what's important in my core values, and what I will and will not tolerate, and really staying true to that. So I always say, like, I manifested Tack, and he says, well, I woman-fested you. And I think that had I not done the work, I would have definitely sabotaged this relationship, because I would lack a lot of the, worthiness and things that could make me feel insecure. In the past, I could see I could have done that, because I wish I would have met him sooner, but I knew I wouldn't have been ready yet. So I think it all boils down to the relationship we have with ourselves, and how we continue to cultivate that and care for ourselves, care for our body, listen to our inner wisdom, or whatever you call that voice, that gut feeling. It's all there for a reason, and the more that we can really tune into that and honor that, the more alignment we bring into our life.
Yeah, that's so good. I love it. And it's the proof's in the pudding, if you will. Anyone that knows you can see that you have done the work. And especially, I appreciate you sharing, like, having been married before and now meeting Tack. Like, I, again, putting it out there of, like, I look back to my marriage and the things that I was, truly insecure about. I'd gotten to the most secure place I'd ever been in my singlehood. And that's when I met him, which is fascinating. But in that relationship, the roots of the insecurity that I thought were pulled up, I then became the most insecure I've ever been in that relationship. And I think that's where I realized after it that I'd given my power away to someone else, and who's a good person, wish him the best. But that really was a reflection of that still in me that needed to heal. And that just pulled it out, right? And
that's just it.
One. Yeah.
Yeah, our relationships, and specifically the most intimate of all, is going to be a mirror to us and show us what still needs healed. And it's a beautiful opportunity. It's not always easy. It's very, very, very hard. And I just think, when Tack and I are having hard moments, what a gift that is, because in certain moments it's like, oh, well, it's just better to be single. But you don't get the same opportunities you get when you're in relationship with others to do the work, to continue to be showed, like, what still needs healing, what still needs your attention and love. And so I thank you for sharing that, because it's not easy to see those parts of ourselves and be like, crap, why is this still bothering me, or why is this still coming up? And it's just an opportunity to continue to do the work.
Yeah, it's so good. And I'm curious on that note, you healed yourself so much in meeting Tack and attracting him into your life. And like you said, not sabotaging that. How do you still show up? Like, how do each of you help continue to heal each other? If that makes sense. Like, what does that look like where, from my observation, is a good, healthy, strong relationship, you give each other space to be flawed versus trying to, anyways, I'm not an expert on this, so I'm observing, right, a lot. So what does that look like for you guys in your marriage?
I think being a safe space for each other and being vulnerable with each other, saying hard things, it's in certain moments, it can be pretty apparent what still needs healed. And to have someone that you fully trust to walk through that with you is everything. It's everything. Yeah.
So is it essentially the trust is the foundation to create the safe space?
Yeah, trust so that you can be vulnerable, because vulnerability is what creates connection. And I think that was one thing that very much stood out to me in my relationship with Tack. That was shown very early to me. He was always a safe space. We had a couple of hard conversations early on, but that's where I learned, like, oh, he's a safe human. He's a safe person to show every piece of my heart to, and even the parts that aren't fully healed, like, that's okay, because we can love ourselves and each other through it, and we're human. So that's a huge part of the equation. I don't know where any of us started to get to the point where we expect ourselves to be a certain way. And I know that society and the media, all sorts of things can contribute to that. But loving every single part of ourselves and our partner, like that gives so much space for the messiness and the healing to happen. Because if we're trying to be someone we're not, if we're trying to only show our shiny parts, that's a huge missed opportunity, because we are flawed humans. We always have stuff to work on. We always have things to learn and ways that we can grow and be better, communicate better. I don't know. There's always more. And that's the beauty of this life and having a partner to continue to do the work with.
That's so good. Yeah. Layered learning moment. Thank you. Because I know you guys also have done relationship coaching and that's an aspect as well. So I really value that, because and I share my journey in divorce just because I think it's relatable. Most people have gone through one, and man, that's one of the most important lessons of my life, right? Of like, I want to suck all those lessons out of that bad boy experience. Like that was wild. But to that point is like, we just weren't safe for each other. I wasn't safe for him to communicate, because what he communicated, it was personal, but I really took personal, and he wasn't safe for me. And we didn't have true trust, and that it was, kind of broken early on, and I never got over it. I didn't let go of things I needed to let go of, and I couldn't ever fully trust him. And that just didn't serve to have a healthy relationship. So
and sometimes we don't know how to let go of stuff.
Oh my God,
how do you let go?
Point, literally to that point. So I read as many books as I could. I had tracking sheets for my growth. I saw different counselors. Oh yeah.
Tracking, that's so you.
I had literally one of these books called How We Love. I have a spreadsheet. Well, it's in my old Google Drive, but I saw it like a few months ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I did that. But this tracking sheet from this book, How We Love, on attachment styles, because I just wanted to get better. I was like, I don't understand why I can't let that, you know what I mean? There was a disconnect within myself, and breath work, to that point, is so healing of moving through. I never thought of it like that. So
because what comes up for me is we can't necessarily think our way out of these things. It's not our mind that's going to help us. We need to, again, the breath work, we can move the energy through our body. We can heal some things in that way. It's not our mind that's, we look to our mind to do all sorts of things. But in this case, it's your soul and your heart and your body that's holding all this stuff that has you feeling this way or believing this way. It's not a book that you need to read or a spreadsheet that you need to have. As much as you try, like your intentions are well, and I think we all try to think ourselves out of situations or think ourselves whatever the situation is. But this is where the breath work is really powerful, because you can tap into the deeper layer that created this feeling or belief or hurt or whatever it is. It probably wasn't even your partner. It could have been something that happened years and years and years ago.
Right.
This moment was showing you. So a lot of times we can't really make sense of it. So that's why the breath work is important, because with meditation, our mind can still get in the way. Our mind is still very much running. But the breath work, almost like in my opinion, in my experience, it takes the mind out of the equation, because you're so in your body with the breath work that finally the mind can rest and you can really hear like the deeper parts of yourself.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's so good. I feel like I'm in a therapy session in the best kind of way. Like, no, in the best way, like just in the sense of like, and let me know if I'm hitting this, because I feel like I've had this kind of another layer of epiphanies, if you will. We both loved good old Tony Robbins, and he talks about the emotional home that people have.
Yes.
And I've had conversations with people over the years of like, I think of like a scale of 1 to 10. Like 1 is super calm, regulated, pretty steady Eddie, not really going to get disturbed by much. And 10 out of 10 is highly anxious all the time, just loose cannon, crazy. And I've thought of this over time. It's like I growing up and into my adulthood, even now, I've never lived at a 1 ongoing. I've visited it briefly, but I've never like lived there. That's not my emotional home. My emotional home is up further on that scale. It's not a 10. And I don't know what number it'd be at now, but let's call it a 6, right? Maybe a 7.
Depending on the day.
Maybe it's 7 in this season, but I've gotten it down to like a 5, So it sounds like that in the breath work and the releasing and letting things go, it's like you can kind of establish a new emotional home where you might get out of whack for a little bit or up the scale, but you can essentially work your way down where it becomes a new normal. Your body learns a new normal, and breath work is essentially the vehicle to get there. Is that making sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think, it's a practice. And the more that we do that, maybe that number can get lower. And then when we get back up, maybe we're not getting to as high as a number. It's becoming, again, we're more regulated. So that's a beautiful analogy. Yeah.
It just can't, I mean, you helped me find it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Because I think, and if anything too, this may not be the best approach, mind you, if someone's high achieving and letting go of that, but it's almost a way to, again, back to my spreadsheets of like, I can kind of track some sort of growth here where it's not just this, high in the sky idea of like, am I making progress? Am I not? But to that point of, okay, an 8 out of 10 for me looks like I blew up on my family, right? And it's for really not a logical reason. But a 4 out of 10 looks like this or something. I don't know. Working through it in live action.
Yeah, right always.
Yeah. But no, thank you though, because that was very helpful. I would not have arrived to that idea without your guidance. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Man, so good. Okay. Well, let's keep going. So I'm curious, I'm sinking it in. What do you think, and you may have already answered this, but is a truth, like one truth about healing, growth, success that high achievers just totally get wrong?
Oh, gosh. I think there's probably a lot. That it's linear. I think it's very messy. Success is very similar to healing. It's very similar to growth. It's going to be wonky. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, but this is where the compassion and grace come in. Because I fully believe we can go so much farther with love, whether we're parenting someone, coaching someone, or even our inner dialogue. When we fall off our workout routine or when we do something we say we wouldn't, if we beat ourselves up, we're going to be down a lot longer than if we were just like, okay, a healthier way of talking to yourself, you can get back up a lot faster than if you decide to beat yourself down. Thinking that it has to or it should be any type of way, I think is where we go wrong. Knowing that life is messy, success is messy, healing is messy, relationships are messy, that these are all parts of the equation of being human, of, having a mission in this world. And there's going to be some days we feel on top of the world, and there's going to be other days where maybe we can't even fathom getting out of bed. And again, checking in with what do I really need right now, and listening to that and honoring that can help us get back up and get to where we're wanting to go. But again, we do it with love. I think we can go so much farther.
That's so good. I love love. I love that. That's amazing. Man, so I'm curious as well, a couple more questions on like a practical is as a personal trainer, right? And someone in moving their body and you integrate the breath work into it. How could someone, whether it's in a workout or maybe in performance, another area of their life, implement breath work, other strategies of implementing it? What can that look like?
Well, what comes up is realizing, okay, so I love lifting weights. I learned to lift weights in high school, and I never really realized until much later on, once I started doing the breath work, how and why that's so powerful. Because for me, I am someone that breathes when I work out. I know I have to encourage other clients to breathe because I swear they're holding their breath. But what comes up for me is Tack. He's a boxer. And I know when they're in the ring and they're boxing, if they can get into their breath and stay calm, then they can make a lot more clear decisions in the moment. If you're somebody that's like, again, those shallow, you're going to be all over the place and you're not going to be as tight and methodical with your moves. I don't think they're called moves, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
But I think that's what comes up for me is like remembering the breath is what's going to keep you grounded in, in a fight situation. That's just like mind-boggling to me. Like that is a gift. That is a tool. There's some clients that when they're lifting weights, I tell them use the breath as fuel. Again, the breath can also tell your body that it's safe. So maybe you're repping out those last 5 reps and you're using the breath. You're telling your body, I'm safe. You're also using the breath to fuel that movement. Like there's so many components. It's also keeping us alive. Like what? But I think the more that the more that I'm realizing the value of our breath It's
Yeah.
deeper than anyone would ever really maybe think of.
That's so good. Actually, that's real, man, so good. It reminds me of one of the sessions that I was in with you, breathwork session, which highly recommend, y'all. Just saying, she does them virtually too, if you're not in Boise, Idaho. But was you said something like it's the first thing that we do when we come into the world, and it's the last thing we do before we leave it. There's a lot to that. A lot of symbolism as much as there is functionality. And I just love that you've taken something that a lot of us don't think. Maybe someone listening is like, I've never thought about my breath ever. Well, there's a whole profession dedicated to helping people with it. Yeah. But it's involved in everything that we do in some capacity. Everything that we do. And I love that you're such a good teacher in it, and you help people create awareness, I know myself included, around it so well. So could you share on that note too, where people could find how to work with you and what services you offer virtually and IRL in real life? What does that look like?
Well, you can visit my website. It's sarajafar.com, or on Instagram, I'm sarajafar.somaticbreathwork. And I offer one-on-one somatic breathwork sessions online or in person. I offer the integrative coaching on the back end if that's something you're interested in. And I also offer something called Align. And essentially I've come up with a couple of different offerings for people to get a taste of the breathwork, because a full somatic breathwork journey is 90 minutes. 60 minutes of that is breathing. So I created Align, which essentially is a nervous system regulator. We start with about 25 minutes of stretching, very intentional stretching, getting into breath there, into a little bit of meditation, into a mini breathwork session. That's called Align. Sometimes I'll do a series where I offer it to the public, but I also offer that one-on-one as well.
And how long is an Align session?
Align is 60 minutes.
Okay. Wow. I love that. I love that.
I have fun collabs with a local DJ. His name's DJ Jesse. So we've woven because he's done a lot of his own breath work himself. So he does the music. I do the breath work, because typically I'm creating my playlist, but it's really cool to have somebody co-facilitating with me that's creating the sounds that help us with the breath work. But the fact that he's also done his own breath work, like he gets it from the inside out. So that's a really cool offering. And then, I have retreats that are really just a space for women to slow down and soften and tune in and be nourished and go back to life more filled up.
That's so good. Can you share a little bit about your Nourish retreat that you had earlier this year and roughly when the next one will be?
Yes. So January, I held my first Nourish retreat in the mountains of McCall. We had a private chef. Her name is Catherine from the Nurtured Table. She was a huge component. She fed us gluten-free, dairy-free, very vibrant, nutritious, grounding foods. So we spent every day with Power Hour, which is for this event was stretching and a journal prompt to prepare us for each day. The first day we did somatic breath work, and we had an integrative circle that night. Saturday we did a dream casting workshop, followed by a vision boarding. And then that night we did a silent disco. So it was like every day we would have that touch point in the morning doing Power Hour. We also had a lot of outings, a lot of like deep conversations. But it was really cool to do the work and then have the play, and then just everyone was just free at the other, on the other side of it. So it was really cool to see women come in a certain way and leave completely different. And it was really cool because the women that came in did not even know each other. And now I would say that they're very close, and they built, deep relationships in our time together. So the next retreat is coming up in June. It's called Nourish Wild and Free. Same cabin, same chef, similar vibes, but because it will be summertime, we're going to bring in a lot more elements of the, earth, water, fire. When we do our silent disco, we're going to do it outside near the water by the fire pit. And instead of doing the dream casting vision boarding, there's going to be something else in the place of that. So again, it's very important, especially for women, especially high achieving women, to just have a break, just have a beat, to tune in to your own voice, your own needs, what that looks like, what that even feels like. Some people are so busy, they don't even know how to fathom how to fit it in, or even what that would look like or feel like. So to give women a space to breathe and be nourished from the inside out was such a gift and such a amazing thing to witness. Women that most of them, if not all of them, aren't used to eating 3 meals a day, aren't used to having such, nourishing food. So it was really cool to see women taken care of, women that are usually taking care of everyone else.
That's so good. I love that. I can think of multiple women, that myself included, that need that, that could benefit from a designated space that someone walks them through. And retreats are transformative, no question about it. And it's just really cool to see, our mutual friend Gina went, and, the transformation she's gone through because of your retreat, and her work and her effort as well, yes. Right? But, that was a huge catalyst in that journey, no question. So I'm so excited. I love that you're doing that. And yes, people connect with her. I've done a one-on-one in person with Sara. I've done a group with her virtually, and we've done a group in person actually in Fiji. It was super cool. So yeah, love them all. Love them all. Okay. To wrap up the episode, I'm going to go through a few questions I like to ask everybody. And these are just what come to mind, super simple. But first question is, what is your favorite travel destination and why?
OMG. Well, as somebody who just barely traveled internationally for the first time right before meeting you, I had gone to Cancun and my second trip was to Fiji. Fiji, I've not been anywhere else, but Fiji has my heart. Holy moly, that was insane in the best ways.
Yeah, so good. Highly recommend. Shout out to Fiji. Yeah. So good. I love it. Okay. What are one of your favorite books or podcasts that you listen to?
Well, I'll just go with the first thing that came to mind. So I'm a big Brene Brown fan, and I know that her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, is something that struck me years and years and years ago when I first discovered her work. And I think that there's a lot of value in understanding and believing that.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a good one. I love that. Even the title is so good. Oh, yeah. Okay. What is the last thing that made you laugh so hard that you cried?
Oof. I can't even tell you what. I know Tack and I have many of these moments, and I can't even tell you what we laugh about half the time. Usually it's something one of us said or did that's just ridiculous, but yeah, it was with Tack. I can't tell you what it was, but it's something that happens, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for those moments because, what a great feeling.
That's so beautiful. I love that you and Tack have those moments so much. It's just another sign of the health of your relationship, because so many partnerships don't have those moments, or they haven't had them in a long time. And breath work can help you release stuff so you laugh easier.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. Okay. What's actually really cool about this question for you is that you've done this in real life. So the question I ask everybody is if they were to imagine that they have a stage, a platform where the whole world is listening, and this is their opportunity to give their world-changing speech. So if they had one message to share with everybody to impart on them, to impact them, what would that message be?
My message stays the same. What the world needs now is love. And I think the lack of love is sometimes what gets us into a lot of these situations. So if we go out into the world with unconditional love, and I think just imagine if everybody did that, we would live in a completely different world. So my message has always been and always will be love.
So good. So good. Thank you for sharing that. And the context too, in Fiji, we had a platform for this. So Sara, you crushed it out of the park. And what you said here, it's so good. So good. It's I agree. And I think I'd be surprised if that didn't resonate with everyone listening, right? Because we all need that. Yeah. So thank you, Sara, so much for your time. This was incredible.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for holding the space. You are just such a light, and I'm so grateful for you. So everyone, go follow, like her stuff, sign up for one of her classes, stay in tune on when her retreats are coming out, because this is a beautiful woman that is meant to do the work that she's doing. And it's a different ball game when you're around someone that's walking in their purpose, because it's so inspiring, and it will feed you in a different kind of way. So Sara, thank you. Much love.
Thank you. Much love to you too.
Bye, everyone.